Section 5.4, point-slope form. Point-slope form of a linear equation. The line with a slope m that contains the point x1, y1 can be described using the equation y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. This is point-slope form. We want to write the equation in point-slope form for the line given the following information. So our slope in this case, or m, is going to be 1/6, and they give us the point 5,1, which is going to represent x1, y1. So let's recall that point-slope form said we have y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. All right, the x and the y without the subscript 1s are just your normal variables, but the x1, y1 pieces are our values that we need to plug in. So we're going to replace the information in the equation with what they gave us. So we get y minus y1, which is 1, equals our slope 1/6 times x minus x1, which is 5. And this is our point-slope form equation. We want to do the same thing in this example. We want to write the equation in point-slope form for the line with the given information. So our slope is -4, 0, -3 is our point, so this is x1, y1. And so we fill in our point-slope form equation of a line. So in this case, we're going to get y minus y1, which is a -3. So y minus a -3 is like adding the opposite, so we can say y plus 3 equals -4, x minus 0. Same idea here. They've given us a slope and a y-intercept, they've given us a slope and a point. So this is our slope, this is our point x1, y1. So we're going to plug it into our point-slope form. So remember, it's y minus our y1 value, which is -4, so it's like plus 4, equals 1 times x minus a -1, so it's like plus 1. And this becomes your point-slope form line equation. In the next example, they're asking us to graph the line that is described in point-slope form. There are actually two ways to graph a point-slope line equation. You can either simplify it and turn it into slope-intercept form, or you can just use the point and the slope given to you in the equation to graph the line. So we're going to go ahead and identify the point and the slope from this equation. So remember, this equation is written in y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1 form. So that means your x1, y1 point in this case, we can go ahead and take out of the problem. X1 is going to be -2, y1 is going to be 4. And then we know our slope, it's 3/4. So what we can do is we can plot this point, the -2, 4 first. So we go to -2, we go to 4, we plot the point, and from this point we just apply our slope. So it's up 3, right 4. Can't go any farther that way, so I'll kind of backtrack, down 3, left 4, and this is our line for this equation. It's relatively similar to slope-intercept form, except instead of starting with an intercept, you're just starting with a random point. In the next example, we'll do the same thing. We want to figure out the point, so we got to have y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So in this case, our x1, y1 point is going to be 2, -2, and your slope is just -1. So in this case, we plot the 2, -2 first. So there's our point, and we apply our slope. Down 1, right 1, down 1, right 1, down 1, right 1, down 1, right 1, down 1, right 1. And we connect our points to make our line. And that's our line. Same thing in the next example. We're going to identify point slope form, and we're going to try to find the x1, y1 point from it so we can graph a line. So our x1, y1 point in this case is going to be 1, -3. Our slope, -2. So we want to start by plotting the point 1, -3. We apply our slope of -2. So we go down 2, right 1, down 2, right 1. So we connect our points. Not the best line, but you get the idea. All right, so that's how you graph using point slope form. But like I said before, there's another way. You could just simplify the expression to create slope-intercept form, create a slope-intercept form equation, but both ways are relatively simple. All right, in the next example, they say write the equation that describes the line in slope-intercept form. All right, so in this problem, they don't give us an intercept and they don't give us the slope. So the first thing we have to do is find the slope using these 2 points. So we're going to find the slope using the slope formula. So in this case, we'll take y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So on top, change the signs. We've got 4 over 2. So our slope here is 2. Then it says substitute the slope in one of the points into point slope form. So I'm going to go ahead and just use this first one here. So x1, y1, and this is our slope. So we're going to plug these values into point slope form. So y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So you've got y plus 3 equals 2 x minus 2. Then it says write the equation in slope-intercept form. So that means we have to simplify this equation that we got in point slope form. And in order to do that, there's 2 steps you have to take. So let's rewrite it so that way we can start simplifying it. So the first thing you want to do here is you want to distribute the 2. So we distribute the 2. We get y plus 3 equals 2x minus 4. And then we want to bring the 3 over, so we subtract it. And we get our equation to become y equals 2x minus 7. And so this is our equation in slope-intercept form. All right, let's try another one, but this time instead of just giving you 2 points, I'm going to give you a graph, but it's the same procedural steps here. So the first thing we need to do is figure out our slope. Well, graphically, we can either use the slope formula or we can count. I'm going to go ahead and count. So from this point to this point, I have to go down 1, 2, 3, and then write 1, 2, 3, 4. So that means my slope is -3 over 4. Then I have to take one of the points. I can either take this point here, which has the coordinates -3, 4, or I can use this point here, which has the coordinate 1, 1, to create my point slope form equation. I'm going to use this point here. It's smaller numbers means easier math. So we take our point 1, 1, and we're going to plug that into point slope form first. So we've got y minus 1 equals -3/4 x minus 1. Now we have to simplify this because they asked for the answer in slope-intercept form. So that means we distribute the slope. You've got y minus 1 equals -3/4 x plus 3/4. And then the last step would be to add 1 to both sides. So our final answer in slope-intercept form becomes y equals -3/4 x plus 1 3/4. Or if you prefer decimals, 1.75. So this goes with number 12 from the homework. It asks us to model the data with a linear equation in slope-intercept form, and then talk about what the slope and the y-intercept represent. I'm going to help you by helping you figure out how to write the equation. So in this case, you've got input and output values. Well, each of these values represents an ordered pair. So 4 and 49 would be one ordered pair, and 6 and 73.5 represent another ordered pair. To figure out our slope for this particular problem, all we really need to do is figure out the rate of change for 1 hour of work. So if you look at it like between these two values, they're adding 2. Between these two values, they are adding 24.50. And so that means for 1 hour of work, if we cut 24.50 in half, or divide by 2, we get essentially that our slope would be 12.25. So 1 hour of work is $12.25. And then we have to write the equation in slope-intercept form. So we need to take one of these points and create a point-slope equation. I'm going to use 4 and 49. And so this becomes my x1, y1. So I've got y equals, not y equals, y minus 49 equals 12.25 times x minus 4. Then to write this in slope-intercept form, we distribute our slope. So we've got 12.25x minus 49 equals y minus 49. And then the last step would be to add 49 to both sides. And so when we do this, we end up with just y equals 12.25x. And there is no y-intercept, or the y-intercept just becomes 0. And so going back to what it asked before, it says, what do the slope and the y-intercept represent? Well, the slope in this case is going to represent how much you earn per hour. And then the y-intercept represents the fact that if you don't work, you don't get paid. So you can't start with money if you're not doing any work. So working 0 hours means you get $0.